As a prospective writer, I would urge you to not only read good books, read terrible books as well, because they can be more inspiring than the good books.
Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose. I love comic books. I love talking about them. I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like. Links are in the description below. I've also posted links to the stories we're about to cover where you can get plot synopses and character bios. So, we are going to be looking now at Captain Britain, or Alan Moore's run on Captain Britain. We've already looked at parts 1 through 6. We do 2 parts every Monday. And so here comes 7 and 8. So we're gonna continue right where we left off. So this gentleman here. Oh, by the way, the art is by Alan Moore. He does both the pencils and the inks. I actually have the trade paperback. I do not have the original issues because this was released in the UK and was not available in the US, but I'm sure it's on eBay somewhere. But I have the actual graphic novel that was released one time, and this book is out of print. God knows how much it is now. So this gentleman here says, "Do I have your attention, ladies and gentlemen?" Everybody's in shadow. You can just see a little bit of this person here. Target Captain Britain. Report compiled by Alan Moore, Alan Davis, and then whoever these two are. So, recommendation, executive action. And then this werewolf-like creature says, "Good, here's the plan. We move tonight. We've been observing the target's home base, Braddock Manor, for several weeks now. We know its defenses are very good, but naturally we're better. We'll phase in on the manor's southern face at midnight. Straight away, we'll come up against the first line of defense. This is a hologram field projected by the computer system, housed in the caves beneath the manor. The computer projects an image bombed out ruins. It's really quite ingenious to the outside world. Braddock Manor doesn't exist as anything more than a wasteland. Its true structure is completely invisible. Now, this would present a problem were it not for the fact that we have the loveliest telepath in the galaxy amongst our number. Cobweb will form a picture of the manor by scanning the mental images of the people inside it. So she will relay this information to the rest of us telepathically. It will be as good as actually being able to see the manor ourselves. If it isn't, we'll have to find ourselves a new telepath." All right. So now we can see the manor. Our next task is actually entering the place. This is a job for the gentleman in black. Zeitgeist will enter through the front door, as would any respectable visitor. The only difference is that Zeitgeist's case, the door does not need to be open. Since Zeitgeist doesn't exist in anything more than the most abstract sense, while in this state, the computer will not detect his presence. There is, however, a human element to consider. Apart from the target himself, 3 guests have recently taken to residing at Braddock Manor. These three are human beings with varying degrees of psi powers. They are hiding from an organization called Strike and have accepted the target's offer of sanctuary. One of these is a telepath psychokinetic named Thomas Lennox. Cobweb informs us that he is an insomniac and predicts he will be in the kitchen when we move in. His psychokinetic abilities are well developed and could prove embarrassing to us. He will have to be temporarily removed from the field of play. So here you can see Zeitgeist, knocking his shoulder. I'll leave the details of how this is accomplished up to you, Zeitgeist. You can see him saying, "Come here. I'm sure you'll think of something." And then he grabs the guy and pushes him against the wall, probably knocking him out. When the first obstacle is removed, make your way immediately to the cave system beneath Braddock Manor. Once there, disable the computer's sensors circuits. I don't imagine this will prove terribly difficult to a man of your education. By local standards, the computer is unbelievably sophisticated, but by our standards, well, we employ more complex devices vending a hot cup of stimulus. Just be sure that you do it quickly. The computer must be rendered inoperable before the rest of us enter the manor. From this point, things get hectic. So, you can see Zeitgeist kind of getting rid of the computer stuff. This is because the removal of Atomic's Lennox will almost certainly alert one of the other two side talents who are guests at the manor. Her name is Elizabeth Braddock. We know her as Psylocke in the X-Men. And she is the target's sister, and her and Lennox are lovers after a fashion and share a psychic report. She'll know he's been taken. She will investigate, making her way from her room down to the kitchen, except of course that she won't be allowed to reach the kitchen. En route, she will be intercepted by Cobweb. Elizabeth Braddock is a telepath, and her first reaction will be to learn the intruder's identity by scanning her mind. With Cobweb, as you know, this is a grave mistake. Cobweb is Cobweb is in constant psychic contact with a number of past and future versions of herself, forming the time-spanning web in which she derives her name. Cobweb is used to this sensation. It may make her a little irritable at times, but her mind can handle reality from this somewhat curious perspective. Elizabeth Braddock, however, will be plunged suddenly into a world where time has no meaning, where past, present, and future melt into a terrifying kaleidoscope. And you can see here Elizabeth kind of going crazy, and you can just see here all kind of how she falls here. For her sanity to survive, her mind will have to shut itself off. With Miss Braddock out of the way, there are no further obstacles between us and the target. A third side talent that I mentioned is a young girl named Allison Double. She's currently convalescing from a series of brutal psychic shocks. I doubt we'll even wake her. Oh, and there is another long-term resident of Braddock Manor that I have not yet mentioned, Mrs. Emma Collins, who I believe is the target's servant. Again, she will present no problems. You can see her sleeping soundly. By this time, the rest of us, that is, Fascination and myself, will be inside the building and heading toward the target's quarters. Perhaps this would be a good time to recap upon the target and his abilities. So you can see them coming in. The target, Brian Braddock, Captain Britain. We have the information provided by our employer, as well as that which we have gleaned from Cobweb's discreting mental probings. He can fly. He's capable of inhuman strength and endurance. His senses are acute to the point of being uncanny. He's also protected by a bioelectrical force field. I love how the uniform is right there next to him. However, while these powers are innate, they rely to a great extent upon the amplification circuitry built into his costume. Being a gentleman, he does not sleep with his clothes on. Not being a gentleman, I propose we take the advantage of the fact. We will enter his room, at which point Cobweb predicts he will sit up and say, "Who the hell are you?" To which I shall reply with my customary gentility. "My name is War Dog." Here are the villains. Please consider yourself a prisoner of the special executive. Good splash page here. Kind of fits the story. Of course, what happens next is anybody's guess. I've said the wrong thing, haven't I? And Captain Britain jumps. He isn't attacking, he's leaping right over me, but why? Oh, of course, I see. Well, don't just stand there. Captain Britain grabs his costume. Get after him. Cobweb, put a mental tracer on him. If we know where he is, then we can... And then you can see Captain Britain hits Cobweb from behind. Cobweb? Oh dear. And I thought he was a gentleman. Perhaps this calls for a change of tactics. And War Dog calls out Captain Britain. I apologize for my earlier brusqueness. We do not wish to harm you. Quite the reverse, in fact. We're here seeking your aid. We are a mercenary body employed by whoever can afford us. In this instance, our employer is an old friend of yours, one who needs your help. Our employer is currently incarcerated, accused of a crime that she did not commit. Only your testimony can save her, Captain. Captain? Well, why the hell didn't you say all this in the first place? And War Dog says, an error of judgment. Our employer feared that you might be less than willing to speak the truth on her behalf. She felt that drastic measures might be called for, hence our actions. And so, that's ridiculous. I can't think of any circumstances in which I wouldn't be prepared to speak the truth in the cause of justice, especially not if it concerned an old ally. An old friend, sorry. What did you say her name was? And Cobweb smiled, or War Dog smiles. Saturnine, and if you remember in part 1, she's the one that betrayed Captain Britain, and he punches, or tosses, one of the two, War Dog here. And Captain Britain says, Saturnine who left me to die on that alternate world, Saturnine who as good as killed Jackdaw, you want me to testify on behalf of Saturnine? Maybe you need to some time to think it over, says War Dog. Fascination. Hit this patriotic pug before he rips my other arm off. And you can see Fascination kind of move her arms there. The golden-skinned woman named Fascination smiles as she brings her parahuman abilities into play. Time distorts around her. Motion breaks down into juddering stroboscopic images. All right, I'm not going to repeat it, but here we go. This is pretty cool. I wonder if he drew it and then ripped it off and then they put it back into... All right. Seconds stretch into centuries. Eons condense into instants. And you can see, I love the eyes. And Captain Britain kind of going through everything here. The result, to put it mildly, is fascinating. And he goes, oh. And she picks him up here. Okay, he's out. Let's get him out of here and aboard the Sidewinder before he gets his marbles back. How's the head, Cobweb? And Cobweb's like, still singing War Dog. How is it that you always find us such lousy jobs? Shouldn't kidnapping be a bit underneath us? And he says, you have to regard these things philosophically, my sweet. After all, you know what they say. Another day, another Draskubelin. Probably another day, another dollar. War Dog? Drop dead. So, we finished with part 7. Now to part 8, Judgment Day. And so, we seem to be in another... here's like a space station, or a kind of ship. Here are credits, Alan Moore and Alan Davis. So it says co-creators, but they mean co-creating the story. They're not Captain Britain's co-creators. So So we continue. They came at night. They were not human, and they took him easily. They took him from the world he had so recently reacquired and transported him through space. That is not space. And you hear like a sound effect here, thunt. And suddenly this guy comes flying out towards an Earth that is not Earth to save a woman that he would very much like to kill. Ouch, says the... He's mad as hell, and he isn't going to take it anymore. And he's fighting these, whatever they are. Captain Britain, Judgment Day. Cobweb, you're the special executive's precog. Why didn't you tell us he was going to wake up and go berserk? And Cobweb says, no point. It would have happened anyway. But we might have stopped it happening. Ridiculous. Stopped it happening. Yeah, Cobweb, will you predicting what you're going to say? Predicting what I'm going to say. And so they call out on War Dog. Forget Cobweb. She's screwy. War Dog, Legion and I are being slaughtered over here. So this is Legion. Not to be confused with the other Legion. But Marvel UK was kind of its separate thing before it got merged into the proper Marvel universe. I hit one of you and 10 of you get nosebleeds. What are you people? I'm not a people, stupid. Frankly, I don't give a damn what you are. Let's see what happens when I break one of your backs. Oh no, not that. So, let's see what happens when I forget it. And he tosses him in the head, and they're like, my head. All right. Nice work, Rent-A-Crowd. Listen, I'm really disgusted with you people. And they're like, War Dog, shouldn't you be talking to him? Captain, I can imagine that this must all seem terribly distressing, but, and Captain Britt's like, distressing? Are you serious? You scramble my brains and kidnap me? You asked me to be the defense witness for a woman who left me to die? Distressing? What on earth makes you think that? Captain, you're taking this personally. The special executive, me, Cobweb, Zeitgeist, Legion, Fascination, and all the other are a mercenary group. We work for whoever pays best. We've worked for time travelers, we worked for sentience, mold cultures, and right now we work for Saturnine. She's on trial for something she didn't do, namely causing the destruction of that alternate Earth that you two were, that the two of you met. You're her only witness, and Captain Byrne says, I don't care, it isn't my problem. Just tell me one thing. That's called a universal lag. It affects all of us sooner or later. You'll adjust. Here's our dimensional... Alright, let me restart there. Here are our dimensional development court approved chaperones. They'll escort us to Saturnine. And they're all different versions of Captain Britain. Captain Britain, allow me to introduce Captain England of this Earth, and Captain Albion, temporarily on loan from the next Earth next door. So we got ourselves a multiverse. How do? I Faith Tisquel met. Speaking Old English. Perhaps I should explain that. And Captain Britain says, War Dog, tell me about it later. Interlude, another universe. Another planet called Earth. Call it the Twisted World, a place where reality has broken down into a sludge of bubbling nightmare. Only one of its countless inhabitants is still sane, and that one is not human. It is called the Fury, half animal, half automaton. It kills superheroes. It was entrusted with the killing of Captain Britain. It is starting to suspect that it has failed. Certainly no trace of its prey remains in this universe, but what if he still survives on some other plane? Why then it must follow him that... Okay, why then must... Oh my goodness, I do apologize. Alright, why then it must follow him That is its program. Within its body, circuits realign and cells blossom into new organs. It is preparing itself for a journey. It never gives up. So, back to where we left off. She's in here, lad. I'd not try any monkey business if I were thee. Me and the captain here be down on thee like a ton of bricks. In you go. And Saturnine says, well, Captain, aren't you going to laugh? Aren't you pleased to see me like this? And Captain Britton says, Saturnine, you, what happened? And Saturnine says, what happened? You happened. That machine monster, the Fury happened. A reality storm happened. The whole damned retarded parallel Earth happened. I went to that Earth to give it the push that would transform it into a properly evolved world. It was holding back the development of all the other Earths. It was my job to put it right. I was the Magistrix. I was regarded as a god. I failed. The dimensional development court don't like their gods to fail them. How are things with you? You can see she's kind of sweating. I'm surviving, says Captain Britain. Saturnine, you abandoned me and Jackdaw on that world when it started to go crazy. Jackdaw died. I barely escaped with my life. Why? She says, why should you bother to help me? Why should you bother to testify on my behalf? Oh, all right, Captain. I suppose revenge is sweet. Go on, walk out of here and get the special executive to take you home. It was a stupid idea anyway, clinging to you as my last hope when my own avant-garde were barred from testifying. I should have known. Oh, get out of here. Just get out, she says. Captain Brennan says her name. I said get out. You're enjoying this, aren't you? You're loving every minute of this. Oh, God, please just go. And you can see Saturnine crying. Saturnine, you're selfish, you're callous, you're conceited. But no, I'm not enjoying seeing you like this. I thought I would, but I was wrong. Whatever else you've done, you weren't to blame for what happened on that nightmare alternate Earth. I know I met the mutant superbrain that was responsible. If you like, I'll say that at your trial. Captain, but I thought you. And then this guy comes in. Sorry, last fitting time's up. Okay, I'm just coming to see you later, Saturnine. Yes, of course. Thank you, Captain. See you in court. You can see everybody's here. So, this robot, I think it is, because this looks like electronic. The Supreme Omniversal Tribune is now in session. Will the assembly please rise? His Highness Lord Mandragon presiding. His Highness, what does that mean? Oh, that's right, Captain. He's Saturnine's successor to the Imperial throne if she's deposed. He also happens to be the judge at her trial. You see our problem? And so you can see that this is just full. I love that. Looking at us. That's pretty cool. Silence in the Tribune. Gentlemen, ladies, and honored bimorphs, before we proceed with the punishment of the prisoner, there is more pressing matters to be dealt with, namely the fate of the alternate Earth, which she, through negligence, let slide into chaos. My scientific advisors have informed me that the breakdown of reality which afflicts it is rapidly spreading to the other worlds in its continuum. Soon the entire universe, which that luckless Earth resides in, will be contaminated. Unchecked, the blight may spread to other universe. As you know, it is within my power in certain extreme circumstances to have a given universe removed should its existence threaten the omniverse. Thus, it is with a heavy heart that I, and then this creature says, objection, your Highness. The universe in question may be the only source of material evidence with which to establish my client's innocence. Should it be destroyed? And then Captain Britton's like, destroy an entire universe? Are you people insane? And he says, order. The defense witness will remain silent or will be removed from this tribune. As for your objection, Lord Chancellor, I refer to you clause 723-801/D of the Omniversal Writ. In short, my lord, objection overruled. And it says here, the crystal key is turned, a chain of immense is commenced. And a stricken universe is placed forever beyond suffering. Your Highness, I cannot believe that you have committed this act, an entire universe, all those countless life forms obliterated in a single instant. Their demise would have been far more horrible and prolonged had that reality cancer been allowed to spread. No, my lord, worry not about those that have perished. Simply be glad that none of them escaped. And then here you can see it floats through space. That is not space. It seeks a man that it has already killed. It never gives up. So that concludes part 8. So that will conclude our video. Next, Rough Justice. We'll see you next Monday with another Alan Moore Captain Britain story. Like and subscribe. Thanks for listening.